We're here. I'm super excited to have you guys on. It's been since graduation, since we've last seen each other.
Over
that was
a year.
A little over a year ago now.
Mm-hmm.
How y'all feeling? Good. Feeling good.
Excited. Happy to be here.
Let's introduce you guys. We're super excited to have you guys on. The fact that you guys took out your time to do this means everything. So if you want to start with you, tell them how amazing you are.
I am the greatest therapist ever. My name's Andreas. I work as a mental health and substance use counselor.
How long have you been doing this specific job for?
It's been about 8 months.
Did you do your NCE and did you take it? Did you pass it?
Yeah. So
when did you take it?
I think in April of last year, about a year ago, April or the
Okay.
beginning of May. I wanted it done before I started school, and I didn't want anything to get in the way. So I finished that, graduated, and then took a nice trip because I needed a break after.
Amazing. Oh, I think we all did.
Yeah.
I think we all
Yes,
did.
we all
That was
did.
wild. That was
We all
wild.
did,
It
yeah.
was a wild time being. We were fresh counselors
Mhm.
at more or less like some of the darkest parts of the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's kind of
for
wild
sure.
to think about that.
It is.
For sure. You're a licensed associate counselor, right?
Yep.
Did you ever want to be a substance use counselor?
I think when I got into therapy or like being a therapist, or let me go back. When I started school, I kind of had more private practice in my head. I think a lot of people go into be
Yeah, for sure.
private practice in my head. Towards the end of school, we had really two choices. It was vocational counseling and substance use counseling.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to lose my mind if I have to do vocational counseling.
Yeah.
So
talk
no
about
shots at vocational counselors. No shots at vocational counselors. It's really important. It's just I have a hard time focusing if there isn't something really exciting or dangerous going
Yeah.
on.
Dangerous.
That's what I'm most focused is when there's sort of a lot.
So you
going on.
thrive off that.
Yeah.
I can't even talk.
It's a love-hate relationship, to be honest.
Crazy. That's funny.
So, going into that, how about you introduce yourself now?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Salsa. I was a vocational rehab counselor. Thank you. Working with
For the record.
the blind and visually impaired. But like you said, it was boring. It was very monotonous. It was, oh my God. So I'm transitioning now to be a clinical therapist at a hospital. It's going to be interesting.
Amazing.
I'm excited to get started.
So did you always want to do vocational?
Oh no. It was
Really?
honestly, I never.
What was your goal?
I just wanted to do individual therapy. That's all I really had in my head. I
That's
wasn't
crazy.
exactly sure. I kind of on the back burner knew I wanted to maybe do a college setting, but can't really break into that profession as an associate counselor.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, I'll just do individual therapy. But I don't know if you guys knew, they used to email the job postings to your school email.
Yes.
And the state was hiring for vocational counselors. And so I applied. And that's when they were like, okay, well, little baby counselor, we'll give you a job.
That's funny.
The way they worded the job description versus what you actually do was a little bit different. So then I figured, there's not really any clinical hours here. I would need to move elsewhere. So I did that for about 9 months. And
Don't be
I
shy.
did that for about 9 months. I'm going to be transitioning into my new role in a couple weeks.
That's amazing. So
That's great.
how do you feel about the transition from vocational, rehabilitation to then now doing this?
I am very, very excited. Like Andreas, right? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah.
Said, I'm chasing that excitement, that danger, something a little
That
bit
danger.
more. I want to experience everything. So I just needed a little bit more. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to get started on that.
That's amazing.
I
Well,
really
congratulations.
Thank you.
I really like the diversity of therapists that we are because you're in substance abuse, you're going into a new field, you're in school setting, and I'm in trauma.
Absolutely.
So
It's
All
crazy.
different, yeah.
yeah,
super
it's
different.
different. So how different do you think it is being in actual working field compared to school?
Very different.
Oh, yeah.
Very different. I feel like in school, they have the reins on you, and then once you graduate, you're just free to do kind of whatever. So you're trying to remember what they told you to do in school, but you also have to adapt to what other people need. So you're kind of finding your own voice and kind of creating your own style. It's been cool. It's been really cool.
I think being in school as a therapist is valuable, right? You need to read, you need to learn theory, you need information. Doing some of the role plays can be helpful just to dip your toes in.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it would be kind of like if you studied cars without ever actually going in and
That's
tinkering.
a great
And so internship was like learn how to swim.
Yeah.
And so much of what you learn in the books, in some ways, right, it's always useful, right? It's always good to have some theory in the back of your head. But at the same time, so much of it just goes out the window when you get sort of pushed into that deep end.
Sure. For sure.
Yeah.
What made you guys want to get into the field in the first place?
I'll start. Okay. So in undergrad, I majored in broadcast journalism and public relations. So it was a lot of video editing, camera work, stuff like that behind the scenes. It was fun, but it's very hard to break into.
Yes.
So I cannot find a job. And I'm like, it was my junior year of college, and I'm thinking, I don't really want to do this anymore. I'm already in my junior year. I don't want to backtrack. So I just went ahead and did what I had to do to graduate. So upon graduation, I'm working at these different jobs all the time, never really establishing a career. I had to take a step back to figure out, okay, what can I see myself doing for the rest of my life? Why do I want to do this for the rest of my life? I'm thinking counseling was the most prominent to me because I do want to make a difference in other people's lives. I do want to be able to communicate and interact with the community and things of that nature without dealing with, there are different types of stress. Broadcast journalism stress is not the same as counseling stress. I'd rather deal with the counseling stress than that. So it's figuring what kind of stress I want to allow into my life and that I could do for an extended period of time and kind of just sticking with that. So then I decided, I think that's the route I want to go. I have to get a master's. Applied for school.
Had you tried it before, or you just like, I'm going for it?
Everybody is an unofficial counselor for their friends and things like that. So I figured,
therapist friend.
Yes. Yep. So I'm like, I love being able to do that. Why don't I just become official and do it on a pay me.
Yeah. Now, what about you, Andreas?
So it's a similar story in some ways. In undergrad, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and then
oh my god, didn't you
look
major?
Like a doctor? Like you really
crazy hair? Yeah.
Didn't you want to major in biology?
I did major. I did the same thing. I was like halfway through. I was like, I'm done.
Yes.
But I was far enough through that I just finished it out. Yeah, same thing.
Because I remember you said you were really into biology.
Yeah, I super was into it. I love science, the physical sciences, sort of existential, philosophical.
Love your shirt.
Like, yeah,
That's so cute.
This is my shirt, right? I wear this every
That's
Friday.
awesome.
I have 2 of these.
That's awesome.
That's great.
I love that. That's awesome. So you didn't like it?
I remember being in Organic 2, and there were these 2 women in my class, and we were about to do this long, tedious experiment, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I'm so done. And they were like really excited to do it, and they were like, we can't wait. And that's when I realized I was like, I'm doing the wrong thing. And so then I tried video game programming. I worked at a room escape. I was a tutor. I sold phones.
Interesting.
I worked in biotech in New York City. I was like knocking on like world-leading labs I didn't have credentials. This lady was just like sneaking to these hospitals. And,
oh my god! Wow. Okay. Wow.
So did the New York City commute for a little bit, and then I was like, all of this sucks. I hate this all. But I liked the people aspect, and so I volunteered with Crisis Text Line. I recommend if anyone wants to try, see if they would like to be a therapist or a counselor, volunteer with Crisis Text Line. Because if you enjoy it and you can handle that, then
I thought about doing that once, actually. So what did you do in this Crisis Text Line?
Yeah, so pretty much all sorts of people with all different problems text in. Everywhere from homicidal ideations, suicidal ideations, to a 12-year-old girl who just moved and misses her best friend. So you literally, right? You get some really terrifying and wholesome experiences. And so pretty much they would talk, and what was cool about it was you learn the fundamental skills of counseling. It's like affirmations, reflections, validation. They train you on it. These are the types of responses that you want to use, and these are ones that are helpful and not helpful. And the cool thing is they text in, they type, you want to respond within 5 minutes. So it was such a good basic practice because I'd have time to think. What are they saying? What do I need? What do they need?
Yeah.
It was cool. It was like playing a slower version of therapy.
That must have been stressful though.
It was, because there's a timer going. You're like playing speed chess.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Well, you have 5 minutes, really, more or less. There isn't a literal timer, but you're looking. You have to be time conscious because it's a balance of I need to read and understand, and then I have to see, like, I have to process my own feelings and be like, okay, I got to put that on the shelf for now because that one doesn't help me.
Yeah.
And then I have to think validation, affirmation, reflection. How deep do I want to reflect? Or like, is this something so dangerous where I have to be like, no, you really just can't do that, which is not normal, right? Normally you don't tell people what to do, but all of these thoughts are going, you're like picking which option you have, and you're like, oh crap, I just spent 2.5 minutes thinking. And then you have to be like, okay, Andres, you still have
Oh my God.
So
no, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
That's insane.
Absolutely not.
it's an experience.
Were you focused on one person, or are you
One,
like multiple
when you start, you have that's the other thing. When you start, you have one person at a time because you're a newbie, but over time they want you to take multiple people. So it gets to the point where you've got like 3, 4. I don't know if I ever did up to 5, but you have a couple of people at a time where you're responding, and sometimes you use their response time to go shift to someone else. So you might be processing like 3 or 4 conversations in your head at one, not consciously, right? But you're thinking about one, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking about the other.
So this was something that you did before you started the program and all that stuff, right?
I had thoughts about being a therapist, and I was like, all right, I got to test this out before I.
And that's when you did this.
Yeah, and then I was like, this was the one thing I enjoyed because selling phones, I got to work with people.
Wow.
But it was kind of like evil people skills.
Evil people skills?
Yeah. It was the same.
Elaborate, please.
It's the same skills you use as a therapist, but you
We're not evil. Hold on. Relax.
No. It's like anything, any skill can be used to help or hurt people. And so when you're working with people in a therapeutic environment, you're building a connection to try and help them explore themselves. When you're selling phones, you're building a connection to convince them to buy more stuff. And then phone companies are evil. They want you to hide charges. They want you to lie.
Yeah.
You're manipulating people to convince them they need something.
That's a great way to put it.
So is that what solidified your decision to want to become a counselor?
Crisis text line. I was like, I have to do something with my life, and I've enjoyed this. I need to make steps moving forward. So I did.
What was the interview process like for the both of you? For grad school
In general.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was really easy. I applied. I got an email asking for a phone interview, which freaked me out. Cause I'm like, what?
Oh, you did a phone interview.
Yeah.
I also got a phone
because
interview.
I never knew that they wanted to
relate.
interview me to go to school.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
what do I
didn't
say?
either.
I get on the phone with her and I'm telling her about my experience. And they keep saying, oh, that's good for counseling. Oh, you did that? That's good for counseling. A lot of people come from communications to counseling. That's good. That's good. And I'm like, are you trying to convince me to come here?
Wait, really? Mine was completely different.
No, she kept
Was
saying.
it the program director?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
She was
What?
She was so nice to me.
Oh no! Like she was nice.
She's very sweet
on the
and-
phone, but I was so nervous. I felt like I was stuttering the whole time.
I didn't know what to
and I was
do.
just like,
So I was
because she kept asking me questions that made me think. She was like, "So what makes you want to do this?" And like, "Have you heard of this and this and this?" Kind of testing me to see my knowledge of counseling. Nothing compared to your experience.
I was just telling her about myself like a job interview, and she's like, "Oh, you did that? That's really good
That is
for the counseling
nothing
field.
like
That's
my
really
interview.
good."
What is
and I'm
this?
just like, "Thank you." So she asked me if I had questions. I asked her like 5 questions, and that was it.
Wow, you must have done great.
I don't
then.
know
Like
what
you,
the heck happened.
Wow.
That was
because
it.
I also had her, but in person, so it was even more scarier.
I bet it was a completely different dynamic.
No, it was even more scarier. It was her, and then all the other professors that are in the program, or some other professors that are in the
Really?
program that were
Wait, really?
also taking. Yes.
Oh my god.
In the same room?
Yes.
Oh,
and
wow.
they selected certain people to go to a different room and interview them.
I am so sorry for you guys.
I know. You know what it might be? I signed up for the Strictly Distance program. Maybe that's why it was just me, like one-on-one with her.
Well, no, I signed up for in person,
Oh, and you had it on the phone just with her too?
but it was also
Oh.
COVID. It just happened during COVID.
Oh, during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was literally. I think.
Ours were pre-COVID, so I think they had.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Oh, I
totally
see.
different. No, mine was
Okay.
COVID.
So hectic.
Yo, we were all suited up, like dressed up, suited up, all
Ready
that.
to go.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then so
Wow.
they each pulled us out. I stayed in the room with the program director, and I think I went first. And
God bless you.
She asked me really hard questions that I didn't even know how to answer myself. But I felt like she felt bad for me. Not felt bad, but like saw potential in me. That like she would be like, oh, do you mean this? Are you trying to say this? And I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. Like she was really trying to help me out. So I was really nervous. What ended up happening in your interview for grad school?
So it was pretty chill. I went in prepared. And so I had done coaching for ice hockey. So I was already a mentor for kids.
Oh, nice.
I had the crisis text line experience. I had sold phones. I had I had a lot of people experience. And I knew how to relate it to therapy. And I think I don't know if they asked me some questions about like basic types of therapy. I might have gone on their website and looked at which ones were in the curriculum or something like that. So I was able to be like DBT, CBT or something like that. Sometimes when I get nervous, I plan ahead. And so, yeah, it went really well. And she was like, all of these things are applicable to counseling. And she liked that I had a background in biology because it brought that element of hard science to what others might think is a soft science. And so it turned out to be an advantage in some ways.
Oh, that's
great.
Awesome. You and I had our grad school experience in person for a good like maybe 3 months or something like
a hot
that.
minute.
Yeah, but it was awesome because I felt like we were really in this together. Like we were all vibing, and it was great. I felt like like you said, we were like a little squad, right? But then COVID hit.
Yeah.
Everything was different. We were forced to do everything online, right? We were in our houses, everything was shut down. We just had to really bury our faces in our books and doing our homework. How do you think it affected your mental health during that time?
It was interesting. I got stir crazy, and that was tough, and had strange dreams at the beginning of COVID.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, and I heard from other friends too who were like, yeah, I'm having a bunch of strange dreams as well. And I had to adapt a lot. It was like shifting from working out. Like I would go to like the square and just work out in the middle of the square. And it was dead. So I was just like doing my thing in the middle of an empty campus. I'm an ambivert, so I got lucky. Like I have a part of myself that's very introverted and I have a part of myself that's very extroverted, and I can lean on one or the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so was it fun? No. Was it weird and wacky tacky? Yes, but I got lucky in a lot of ways.
I remember you and I met in one of our classes, and you were the one that spoke up to me first, saying like, hey, we did the interview together, and we became homies ever since.
Yep.
Andreas was my hype man throughout grad school. I will never forget it. I will always talk about it because I would text Andreas and be like, Andreas, I'm freaking out about a presentation. I don't know what to do. He'd be like, you fucking got this. Like, you got this. You're going to kill it. And I was like, oh, okay, he makes me feel so much better. And then, I end up getting through it. Me and Andreas would always be on FaceTime until like 4 o'clock in the morning, having conversations about the meaning of life. It was literally the meaning of life.
It.
I love hearing that because, for me, she wasn't. What she would, in the middle of class, she would text me, Sammy, you don't look good.
Maybe you guys had a more honest relationship.
I have text messages of her saying, Sammy, you look sick. You're not okay. Like, you look so sleepy. Are you good?
You look miserable.
And I'm like, yeah, that was the text. You look miserable. Are you okay? And it was literally the day before I found out I had COVID.
Okay.
But I was like, thank you so much. And then she was saying, you look so mad on FaceTime.
I'm telling you, you did. The first time I met you, you looked so mad, and you chatted me on Zoom like, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing with exclamations and smiles. I'm like, who the fuck is this?
So I wasn't the only one. Good to know.
She used to just sit there like,
hey, I'm
But she's
sorry.
the
I
sweetest.
have a really bad resting bitch face.
I was gonna say, you
when
must
I'm
she
driving,
brightens up and smiles. I'm like,
when I'm
okay.
driving, I'm dead.
Oh.
Or like when I'm on the screen, I'm dead. But then when you start talking to me, I'm like, hi, how are you? Like I wake up.
Let's talk about how we met.
Oh,
Samantha. Go ahead and tell the story.
so we met because we were partners in a group project. First class I had
For statistics.
for Stats?
Yeah, it was stats because the first project was to do a lit review.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was me, her, and 3 other girls.
Yes.
And we were one of the lucky groups because we kept hearing through the grapevine that people were not like actually doing the work, that other people were not participating at all. And we were lucky because everybody in our group actually stuck to doing their own thing. Nice. However, Missy over here is a perfectionist. And so all of a sudden I'm writing down my stuff. Like we had a Google Docs thing or Microsoft, whatever it is that we were using.
Looking at me like, what did you do?
And I'm typing up my stuff and I see the bubble show up that she's logged in. And all of a sudden I see her retyping everything in everybody's thing. And I'm like, what is she doing? She did that. She was doing the editing. But the problem with it was that everybody already did the editing.
No, they didn't.
Everybody did the editing. I was finishing up my, like, a sentence or two, and I see her, like, literally going into the whole paper. Bada. Like, and then, you know, the notifications show, like, Ashley fixed this, changed this, deleted this. I was like, this girl's literally changing the whole paper.
That's why it was so easy to hype her up, because I'd be like, you'll be fine.
You're going to overtake it. Like, you got this.
Yeah, she changed the whole paper, and I was like, this bitch.
Funny.
And I remember that this was like the first month of school, literally the first month. Yep. And I was texting my friends and I was like, oh my God, there's this one girl that thinks she's so like, I'm assuming she thinks she's like all that because she literally just changed everything in our paper. And she was like, oh my God, do you have one of those in class? And one of those? And then I was just like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like her. Fast forward 2 years.
Now we're doing a podcast together.
I love her though. She's still that real. She's still very, very real with me. Like she'll call me and she'll be like, I'll be in bed or something. She'll be like, Sammy, get up and do something.
It's a good friend though.
Yeah.
It's a good friend.
She won't let you waste your life away.
Yeah. She won't. No, it's great.
So the good thing about Sammy is the fact that my problem is when I go through things, I will not reach out to anybody. I bottle things in. This is why me and you always used to have conversations about freaking life and everything because, like, I take that opportunity to talk to somebody and vent. With her, she'll randomly just call me throughout, FaceTime me, actually. Not call, FaceTime.
Always FaceTime.
She will randomly FaceTime me unannounced. And
why would I, hold up, before that, why would I text you to tell you I'm FaceTiming?
Because I could be busy.
Crap, my hair is a bird's nest.
That's good friendship level. Good friendship level is when no questions asked, you just randomly FaceTime.
Then she texted you and you went, no. Then what? Just call. Just do it.
You actually used to do that to me too.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I miss it, honestly.
I've never done
Andreas used to no. Like he randomly used to FaceTime me too throughout the day and just check in on me. You also do that. It's like 50-50. She could either catch me at a time where I'm like, you know, just chilling, vibing, whatever. And then the other time I'm like crying in my bed and like, you know, I'm a mess. Then, you know, we're having a whole conversation about what's going on. And, you know, I don't really have that often. You know,
and here I am, like an hour and a half away, and I'm like, I wish I could drive to you.
Yeah, I know. She's one of the very few friends that truly check up on me, and she's like, "Hey, like you're going through things. Like I can drive to you, or I'll be there for you. We can do something to get your mind off of these things."
You guys are kind of like family.
That's beautiful.
She's all right.
I too.
No, but seriously, I'm truly, truly grateful for our friendship because I really, really don't have that much in my life.
No, I had that with you, and I also had that with Salsa, especially like during internship when
she was just wound so tight. Like, Sam, relax.
No, with the stuff that happened in internship. It was insane those last 6 months.
It was very
you
good.
Definitely don't know what I went through.
Oh my goodness.
But,
Yeah, let's talk about internship.
Oh, okay. So in our school we have practicum and internship, but in reality it's a year-long internship.
Yeah.
And I remember first practicum was great. Everything went smoothly. We were all great. We were all having the time of our lives. Income internship. Oof.
I had a blast.
Well, good for you. My internship was here, so it was great. It was really it was chill, and so this is a private practice. I saw so many different populations: borderline personality disorder, schizophrenia, general depression, generalized anxiety, all of it. But it was a really good learning experience. I was kind of just like thrown into. We were all thrown into our internships.
It was like fly, birdie, fly.
Yeah.
Literally,
Or like how you said swim.
Yeah.
yeah.
The first week of internship, they did 15 groups per week, Monday through Friday. I ran 12 out of the 15 solo.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No.
No, I would have died. I still get
We had it
nervous.
the best in our
I think so
internship.
too. I had you, and you really like to talk, so I used to just stand there like, cool.
Damn, she said you talk a lot.
I do. I think you used to get
I will not
nervous,
deny it.
and when you get nervous, you
Chances
take
cracking up.
control. It's so funny because you usually think you'd be nervous and you wouldn't want to speak. You take control when you're nervous, and you just
On the
bust
hot
it
seat.
out. And I'm like, okay, I'll
That's
slide when
fine.
I need to.
But I
you're
think
great.
it's also our internship was an hour away,
Oh my God, yeah.
and so we had to commute an hour every day.
An hour?
An hour.
Oh, big yikes.
All the way down.
We were
in,
Tom's River. Yeah, that was fun, but it was a small company. It was very like
Local.
it was like one of those close, tight knit companies where everyone just considers themselves family, and it was great. It was so nice, and we were with Children's and Family Services during our whole internship. It was nice. Supervisors, I will say, from internship, practicum, from the moment I met them till now, I consider them my friends because they were such a huge support
That's awesome.
during
They're
that
amazing.
time. I don't know if you guys had the same experience with your internships.
No, for sure. I mean, my boss, she was there for me through anything. Like if I was freaking out about a client, and I have my own insecurities as a therapist, you know, like I'm always like questioning myself, like, am I meant to be in this field? Am I even doing the right thing for this client? And she'd be like, Ashley, you're fine. You know, I need that sometimes because I'm like, again, I'm really insecure because I'm really passionate about what I do. So because of that, I'm always questioning myself, and she's always like, let me know what you need. Let me know how I can support you. Yeah.
Mixing a little imposter syndrome because you're so
Yeah.
young
Oh
and
my
new.
God.
Goodness.
Who thinks they had imposter syndrome?
Oh, me. I still do.
I was talking to my clinical supervisor, like, I don't feel like I can deal with this kid and his mom. Like, what can I tell you about your child? I'm 27 with no babies. What am I supposed to say?
You're not wrong.
And he said, as long as you have that clinical intuition and you have sound judgment, you're fine. You'll see it better than they will because you're from the outside looking in. So as long as you have some sort of reassurance, it makes it better, but it's still difficult because you feel like, am I doing this right? Or am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
That's funny that you say that because I work primarily with Hispanic population, and a lot of the moms that come in, they say, well, I don't know if you have kids or not, and if you don't, I don't know if you will understand. And some of them flat out will say, you don't have kids, you don't understand. And I'm like, okay, but at the same time, you know, and I started explaining, and sometimes it takes a little bit them talking to me to realize that, you know, I'm an outside perspective.
It's sometimes hard to convince them that, you know, therapy is going to extend beyond the office into the home.
Yeah.
Because I can work with them and then they go home and you undo everything we just tried to learn. So trying to even convince them of that because they think, oh, you know, well, this is my baby. I have to be the one that's like really supporting them. And it's like,
I actually didn't get to finish asking you the transition from going to class in person to then everything all Zoom.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
It was frustrating and disappointing.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Disappointing?
Yeah.
Disappointing because it was fun, man. Like just being with everybody was fun, and you know the professors were great, and just everybody was great. So like you just felt like a little family in the moment.
We're
you know?
also a really small class.
Was a smaller class, and I remember thinking to myself, I enjoyed everyone's passion.
Yes.
And one of the big things for me was it was also frustrating because we just got started.
Yeah,
It was like 3 months.
I know.
And I remember when they started talking about COVID and we were all sitting in the building and it felt like there was a lockdown or something and like the apocalypse was happening. It was wild.
Yeah, it was wild.
I still remember the teacher. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I do. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a wild moment. the other thing was, I remember thinking to myself, and eventually I just had to let this go, was how our degree is people skills, basically. And so then to be cut off from people and to just talk about practicing people skills, I was like, how is this going to impact my development as a therapist? Just
Oh, wow.
sitting and talking about people's skills. So,
Yeah.
and I think that made our push into practicum harder because we weren't socializing every day. Or at least I wasn't. I was in my apartment mostly. And then so we'd been in our wherever we were for like a year or so, and then now your socializing is therapy.
Yeah.
So that was a big transition.
It was a big
Yeah.
transition.
And now, were you in your internship or practicum with another one of our classmates?
Thank God, yeah. I
Yeah.
was.
Okay, that's good.
She was a
Interesting.
baller. Yeah.
That's
I had
awesome.
one of the, and her and I we ran a lot of groups together. We had similar clinical background, like theoretical approach, but opposite personalities in some ways. So we balanced each other out really well to the point where we'd have clients who were like, you guys do this well together. We co-led really. It was lucky because I felt like I had someone that I could sort of lean on a little bit.
Okay,
And
good.
like
That's how I
understood
felt
what
with
was going
salsa.
on. Yeah.
Same, and we're very kind of opposite. Like Sam is very strict by the book. Have to do it this way. And I'm like, I'll find a way to get it done. It's okay. So we were a nice balance.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
cool.
That's awesome. I know for me, the transition was pretty rough. Like, I fell into depression. It was rough. Like, because we were locked down in our rooms and, so like I had time to really think about what I've been through and just like all my intrusive thoughts and just everything. So I was always in bed. Like, I was literally like paralyzed in my bed almost. And so it was hard. And it was hard to get schoolwork done, you know? And there was a point where I ended up getting COVID, and I literally, and at that point we were in our crisis class. So yeah, I know, it was rough, dude. Because then we had to get our papers done, and I literally couldn't get them done at the day it was due. I was staying up all night because I just couldn't sleep. So it was rough. It was a rough time.
How many times during school did you guys get COVID? If you got it.
Just once.
I got it
for
after
me.
school. I remember you got it 2
Once,
times.
maybe twice.
I got it 2 times in school, and then once again this past January. Well,
Wow.
I've had it 3 times.
Are you licking the banisters? Sam? Like, what are you doing? I don't keep getting Oh
No,
my
so I
God.
will tell you, the first time it happened, I was working in my building because I
Oh,
was
okay.
living in Jersey and I was working downstairs. So I guess I found out that my supervisor got COVID,
Oh.
and he was not fond on wearing masks.
Oh, I see.
So I had a mask. He would get like really close to me because we had to do stuff on the computer, answer phone calls. He was the building manager, so I had to go to him constantly. He gave me COVID the first
Oh my
time.
goodness.
Second time I got
my
COVID,
gosh.
it was actually 4 days on point. 4 days after I got the COVID booster, the second one.
Wow.
Oh, the first booster. I'm sorry. And they say your immune system, it takes a while for it to like actually react. So you can still get COVID during that time. It's not a preventive. It's just to make it like worse. Like it's
Less likely.
less likely. And I got it on day 4 after getting my booster. And I was like, well, okay. And it stunk because I was supposed to go on a trip literally that
Right.
weekend.
I
So
remember that.
I couldn't go. And then, so I was supposed to go to South America with my family, and I got it 2 weeks prior to that. That time I don't know how I got it because I was fine. Everybody was fine. I just had like a sore throat, and I was losing my voice,
Yikes.
which was really weird.
But going back to school, like, how did having COVID impact you
Ooh.
in school?
Oh
No,
my
the first time
God.
it was actually okay.
No, the second time was pretty bad.
The
It was,
second
like,
time was
rough.
bad. The first time I felt like it was just allergies for 2 weeks.
Really?
Allergy symptoms. Yeah, I did not lose my taste or smell. I didn't even know I had COVID, and I was living with my roommate. And so we have our separate rooms, but we have the same common area. So I would be on the couch, she would be cooking dinner, and I was fine. Like, she didn't get sick at all. And it was before Thanksgiving too, before I was supposed to go back home. That time I was fine. Like, I think towards the end, yeah, maybe I did lose my taste for a little bit and my smell, but it literally lasted maybe 4 days, and I don't even know if at that point it was just a congestion.
Wow.
So then the second time,
That was brutal.
ooh,
Long
I
COVID.
got no, and I still suffer from the symptoms of long COVID. So the second time around, I got excruciating migraines that would go on. I think it was every other day I was getting a migraine. And then the top of my head, you know how when you touch a baby, newborn, and the top of the head is like really soft? That's how I felt my head being. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And it was just a week before we started like going back for like full-time internship. And at that point, my supervisors had already known me for 6 months prior to that. So like, Samantha, what is wrong with you? Like, you're making mistakes you wouldn't make. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. And it was the fogginess after COVID, like your brain fog. And they said like that is a thing. And I remember Salsa saying like, yeah, Sam, like, you're not really like talking. You're not really like doing this
Or
stuff.
you would say something and then say it again. Like if
It was bad. And so that not only affected my internship work, it also affected my schoolwork. Internship, they were definitely more understanding than the actual professors. Because one of my professors actually wanted to kill me. Because, like, she wasn't giving me...
Our
So
internship,
internship.
practicum and internship professor.
I'll tell you who it is
Yeah.
later. So anyway, so she...
You'll never guess. Literally, because she was great with us. You'll
she
never guess.
was,
She
until
was great the
internship,
first
and I
class,
don't know what
and then
happened.
internship.
I think I know.
Yeah,
became a-
probably.
Internship started. I was constantly on top of it, like emailing her, telling her, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well, I got COVID, you know, okay, fine. And then my work was just not up to par. And I will admit it, like I was just not feeling well to like actually put in my 110%. Most I was probably giving was probably like, I was giving a lot. I was giving like a good 80, 90. But I wasn't like, I couldn't find the words for our assignments. And it was killing me. And I was like, what am I doing? And I was getting all these things. Like, I was 1 point away from every assignment from passing. So our passing grade was an 83. I would get 82s. And I would be like, what is going on? Like, and I was like, oh. So anyway, so then I got to a point that she emailed me and she was like, you're at risk of failing. Like, okay, well, like, fine. Next one, ring it all out. Fine. And that week, a friend of mine passed away to suicide. I kind of shut down at that point. And I remember she had set up a meeting to see me that Friday, but I kind of threw caution to the wind. I packed up a bag. I texted my supervisors, and I was on the road back home. And
Yeah, for sure.
I just didn't think twice about it. I just left. And then when we were supposed to have the meeting, it was day of the funeral. And so I still went through with the meeting. I told her what was going on, and I told her, I haven't seen a client in a week because I've been here. And I thought she was really understanding of it. Go well for me. Because for the next assignment, I got a 72. Because she was just like, you know what, it doesn't matter. Like, whatever client you saw last, it can be like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It doesn't matter.
What
Like,
are those
just write
assignments called?
It was session summaries.
Yes, the session summaries.
Good memory.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now
Right.
my memory is great. Now my memory is like building back up, and I'm so happy about it. But anyways, so when that happened, I got a 72. So then I got another email on that Monday. So my supervisor was telling me, you don't have to come back like right away. You can take your time. No. The Monday after the funeral, I drove back to Jersey and I drove directly to my internship. She was shocked to see me. She was like, what are you doing here? And I was just like, I still need my hours. Like, I still need to do this. I was gone for a week. Like, I don't know how I did it that day, but after we had a group that night, and she just saw me coming in and out, and then once the group ended, once the kids went away, I went to the office, started sobbing, crying my eyes out. And it didn't end there, because when I got home, I got an email from that professor saying, hey, so there's no way of you passing. You cannot pass this class at all. So you only have 2 options. You can either take a W, and withdraw from this class and take it not in the fall, but in the spring.
Oh my God, I saw that email and I was like, I can't believe she said that to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She knew everything that was going on with me. She knew about my neurologist appointments because I was going to a neurologist for my migraines. She knew about everything. I called both of them at several points.
Bawling
my eyes out.
Hysterically, poor thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what to do. Oh my God, this is so bad. Like, she was only giving me 2 options. And me, being the stubborn person that I am, didn't let her give me those 2 options. And so I calculated everything. I went back and I calculated everything. I called her multiple times. And the next morning I called her again. She finally answered. And I said, starting off, what grade do you have for me? Like, currently I have you at a 77. We need an 83. And so I'm like, are you sure? Because I calculated a different grade. Bitch got my grade wrong. So I was 2 points away. I had an 80. She calculated a 77, and then she was like, oh, I miscalculated. How are you going to tell somebody that?
It's like, you gotta recheck your math before you ruin someone's
How are
life
you
here.
going to tell somebody that?
Not to defend her, our field is a little math.
I can't count, so that's true.
No,
that's why I double check.
I agree with that.
But like giving me a heart attack of a 77?
That's a lot of points missing.
Like, I was at an 80. I needed an 83. I was like, you're telling me I'm going to fail because of 3 points? Yeah. There is no way. She's like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, we have 1 session summary left, right? She was like, yeah, but you need an 85. I was like, bet.
She's acting like an 85 is a 1003.
And I was like, bet, okay, I'm going to do it. That month, I wrote it.
She went hard on that paper.
I had everybody.
She had everybody checking that. She had her supervisors check it. She had me check it. She had,
Salsa check it. I had
grammatical check it.
You looked at it too?
Yes, we all looked at it.
That's so
Everybody
funny.
looked at it because I knew I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't trust my memory. Every time I wrote something, I just had grammatical errors that I would never make.
Yeah,
I had so many errors. And then they were just like, wow, you're really like out of it. And I'm like, yes, it's in my writing. It's in the way I've been talking. It's my brain just hasn't been there.
At that time, I didn't realize it was because of COVID. I was like, Samantha, like, are you okay? Because of all those grammatical errors.
Yeah, and I literally
didn't
said
take that
no.
into consideration.
I literally said no. I'm not okay.
Wow.
I remember when we submitted like our final assignment, I booked a flight to Colorado because that's where my best friends are.
And then you fell.
That's a completely different story. That's a different story.
Wiped out.
That's a completely
like almost broke her back.
That's a story for another time.
That's a story for another time. Anyways, I was at my computer waiting for these grades to pop up.
Yeah.
Only 1 grade popped up, and I didn't know until 3 days later whether I had passed the class or not because she never uploaded the rest of my grades. Till this day, I don't know what I got on that session summary. I don't know what I got on my final paper. I don't know what I got on anything. I just know that I passed the class with a B. On the dot.
You did
on
it.
the dot.
She called me with like tears of joy, and she was so excited. I remember that.
But the problem is, I was just like, where's my grade? And I keep thinking this lady.
She was a petty bitch to the
She's
end.
exactly. Thank you for saying it.
You're welcome. She pissed me off.
Andrea's like, I'm staying out of this one.
She pissed me off, and it wasn't at graduation too. She saw me. My mom was taking a picture of me on my phone. There's a live picture of her passing by me. Like,
and looking dead at you.
And looking, like, giving me a side glance.
Yeah.
And I was just there smiling with my bouquet.
That's so funny.
And, like, my graduation cap and gown. And I was like, yes. And the fact that I have joy now with remembering that she heard my name walking across that. And she was sitting with the professors. I was like, yes! Yes!
So
this
funny.
is great.
That's so funny.
It's just so baffling that we're in an entire program geared toward helping others with their mental health. And they're like, well, screw yours and whatever you have going on.
And here's my thing, though, that I think. I am so appreciative that they have taught us all these skills. But here's the thing. The one professor that I will say was the best professor that I had was our trauma professor.
I was going to say crisis trauma. Yeah.
Crisis and trauma.
She was amazing.
And the one thing I realized that she had that everybody else had that she didn't. She had her master's. Wasn't a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else had their doctor. So my theory is that they spent so much time going into their doctorate that they don't they know these skills in studying them. They don't remember the skills and actually
out
doing
of
them.
touch.
So they're kind of a little out of touch. And
it's essentially their research, right?
it is
They send other
research. It's
people
very
to do the
yes, no, it's
collect
very
the
research
information.
based. And I'm not saying they did a bad job. They didn't. They did a good job teaching us these skills and doing everything. However, at the end of the day, the lack of empathy was also very well known, at least in my case. And even with this past cohort, I still kept in touch with some of the people, and the same thing happened with somebody else that I was also really close with. And they told me their experience, and I'm just like, how is it that this is happening again? How many times has this happened to people that are not as stubborn or is not as driven as I was or as how some people are, and they've had to leave without having a voice or being able to defend themselves. I know somebody in our cohort that left because they were being bullied by one of our professors.
Really?
Yeah, and it was sad.
I was really sad about that.
Yeah, I was. She was
smart.
She was very smart. She
I've
was
seen
very
people disappear, but I always kind of
Exactly.
wondered,
And I feel like it's because they're being too aggressive. Our program, or at least our career, is very high stakes. We're meeting with people that need our help. If we're not in touch with ourselves, how are we going to be able to help other people? And I do know that was one thing our teachers were really good at, is invoking wellness and mindfulness and constant check-ins.
Yeah, we had to write at least once in our papers about self-care.
Yeah.
So I remember that.
But
We had
that's
a
the
whole
thing.
paper on
Yeah,
it.
no, we wrote a whole paper. And that's the thing, I don't understand how they make us write it, but some of these professors don't actually act on it.
Crazy.
And that's what killed me till the
crazy.
very end. And it's still killing me now, because if it wasn't for people like me that were very set on and determined to finish this, they've had to leave and waste so much money on not being able to complete their program because they weren't given a chance to actually not only defend themselves, but also given a second chance to actually work on it and get to where they are.
Right.
So yeah, that's my story, Andreas. I know you definitely didn't know, but that's what happened with me, and I know it happened with a few other people in our cohort too.
Overall, for both of you, you guys did the whole thing online. And
Yeah.
except you went
You had
in
one
person.
in-person class, didn't you?
The trauma class.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was great. I love her.
I
But
loved her class.
how was the experience online?
So I signed up for the in person, but I kind of figured it was going to be online because
So you were supposed to be in person.
I was 100% supposed to be in person, and I signed up for the fall of 2019. No, sorry, fall of 2020. I remember I was so excited because I was moving away for the first time, because I did all of undergrad commuting. So I was like, I have my own apartment. I'm living on my own for the first time. It's going to be great.
But then COVID was like you thought.
Yeah, you thought. And I ended up, I still had I was still away from home. You thought. That's funny. I was still away from home, but I was still doing everything at my desk in my apartment. So my roommate too, a majority of my classmates were around, and so practicing with precaution, we could all get together at some point and actually meet up, which at some points we did. I felt like it was better that way.
Cool.
I'm happy I ended up moving here for a little bit.
What about you, Salsa?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I loved it so much, yes. I did sign up for the distance program because I was working full time, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I just didn't have the time to go from East Orange to New Brunswick. And I like doing things on my own. I don't really care for a classroom setting because all of my jobs were always so social. If I wasn't doing customer service, like I said, I was doing office management.
Oh my
Being
gosh.
the distance program, I could just go home, do my work, watch my videos, comment on other people's things. It's just typing it out. It's totally cool. I really liked it. Even when my job went remote due to COVID, just being at home and in my own space. I love my room. So just being in my room and being able to do what I needed to do for myself, I had a great time. It was so surprising, though, when we came back for internship, how many children were coming in for sessions due to social anxiety and socialization issues because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm here having the time of my life, and people were really suffering. I guess it never clicked for me that, other people are really having a tough time with this because I got to stay home. And that's just like number one
Amazing.
on my list. Yes, so like, let me stay home.
Yeah. So we talked about our experiences with school. We talked about where we're at career-wise now, which I love it for all you guys. Like, we literally, like I said, we were in this together, and like to see where we were a year ago versus now, it's amazing to see you guys thriving and doing well. Seriously.
Yes.
Did you have a question?
Well, I was going to say, what is one thing that y'all wish that we would have learned in school that would have helped you prepare for your careers now?
Good question.
I feel like I haven't heard you.
Yeah, I haven't heard from you in a while either.
I need a second to think.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't think there is anything sort of that we could have learned. And not to sound defeated, what I mean by that is so much of what I feel like I've learned has been very boots on the ground things that you have to learn.
Yeah,
Like
it's
school can't teach you what it's like when like a client, it wasn't my personal client, but someone else, one of the clients there that was in our groups overdosed and died.
Oh, wow.
So like that's what I mean. The things that I wanted to learn most, I had to be there for.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm at with that.
Okay,
It's like we
cool.
had to go be in it to go do it.
For sure. What about you, Salsa?
I would have liked to learn a little bit more about like methods for family counseling because I feel like, I'm getting thrust into that and I'm not sure, like, with individual counseling, they give you methods, they give you different theories and all types of things like that. And I just wish I had a little bit more practice with families to be able to communicate with the parents when the child is not, react or communicate with the child about the parent versus trying to do it individually, like, just a little bit more, I guess.
I can actually speak to that because I had a similar experience where when I was in my internship and practicum, didn't do a lot of family work, and where I work now, working with families is a part of it. Like I have to schedule family sessions.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
And at first I was like, I don't want to work with families. I want it like you. I wanted to just do the individual therapy and sort of have that spiritual like one-on-one journey.
Yeah.
That's really what I signed up for. And so I've had the similar process where it's like I read that textbook. I don't even think I read the whole textbook.
I didn't. I know there was a section on
Yeah.
it, but it was just a
That's
section.
funny.
Yeah. And so now I'm like figuring things out as you go, and you like there are things they're not going to tell you in the book. Like I had a session recently where I was like a traffic cop because the two personalities kept going, and I had to do the who's the guy in Jurassic Park? He like stops the velociraptors
I
by
know
putting
you're
their
talking.
hands
I know
up.
you're talking.
I'm like doing that in the middle of the family session. I've coined it the traffic cop.
Yeah.
That's the move. Like,
Yeah,
there you go.
nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I totally get you with that.
It's
I
really
feel like-
overwhelming.
Yes, I feel like Andre said, is a lot of learn as you go. Or you may have read something about it, but you never had to implement.
For sure.
So now you're really just taking it step by step, and then once they leave, you do your research. Like, did I do that right? Like, what
Yeah,
are some other
for
ways
sure.
to go about it? So it really is just learning continuously.
And I know in school they taught us about assessments and how to complete these assessments. But I know me personally, I was very like I know how to do the assessments, but when it came time to like
Actually doing it.
for instance, doing a suicidal like assessment and all that, I know I was anxious and nervous and freaking out.
Yeah, I was
Have
terrified.
you guys had that similar experience?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
Not
so
yet.
much.
I haven't had to do any assessments yet, luckily. But
so what
I
about
know
you
when I
then?
get there, I'm going to be double checking.
Yeah. So what about you then?
The
Andre?
CSSRS was one of the most useful things we learned in
The
school.
good old Columbia scale.
I love that. You don't have to use it perfectly, but having that in your head,
Yeah.
I think the level I've always been at a level of care where your client not coming back was something that you think about. And so I think like within the first 3 months of where I work now, I'd sent like 3 or 4 kids to the hospital because of risk assessment, where the risk assessment was at. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Because you're like, if I mess up, and then what if they're not okay, and then
I send
what
them home.
Yeah, I send them home, and then they don't come back, and then like
You have a huge responsibility.
it's a lot of responsibility,
Yeah.
and then you're thinking like, what do I do with my career after that? And then the shame and guilt,
No, for sure.
and then sometimes you
It's a
let the
real
kid
thing.
leave, and you're like, okay, I felt good about that, and you're like, oh, I forgot to ask this technical question
Yeah.
or whatever it is, and you just like you're driving home, and you're like, this is like I did my best that day.
Yeah.
I did my best that day.
I remember the
That's
first
my
time
motto. I did my best.
Yeah.
I tried my best.
I remember the first time I had to do it. It was because I had a virtual session. I was home and she was at her house, and I had to complete that. And I called my supervisor, and I was freaking out. I was just like, she just told me this and this and this, and I had to complete this. Did I do it right? Can you double check it? Like, I don't know if I did the right thing and not sending her and like just ending the session and talking to her mom. I know I did the good thing of talking to her mom, but at the same time, I was freaking out.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
I
got the
remember.
anxiety of that.
So much responsibility.
Because I remember I had to report it to my supervisor for that school, and she was like, "All right, so what do you think? Are you gonna send her out, or are you gonna keep her in?" I was like, "I don't know what to do. It's a lot, man."
And it's not as black and white as
Exactly.
the CSR makes it seem like. The easy ones are when they stop after 1 or 2 questions, or when you're like, "Oh, you gotta go."
Yeah.
There are so many situations in between where, especially with teenagers, where they don't want to be there in the first place.
Right.
Then you're like, you got to go to the hospital, and they feel like they're being punished.
Yeah.
And so that's where you have these sort of gray areas where, like, well, what's the supervision at home like? Is mom in tune with the program? Blah, 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 blah. All these other details that you have to figure out that you never learned. The textbook wasn't like, oh, check the supervision of the family. Like,
Yeah.
There's no concrete.
No, for
Step
sure.
1, step 2. It's
Yeah.
like, well, it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
exactly.
And the scary fact being that now that we're on our own, it's based on our own intuition. And it's like,
what do you
I don't know. I don't. You have to say because we're only a year out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, oh my god.
You guys ever have those moments where you're in session and something comes up and you're like, oh, fuck, I need a bigger adult. And then you're like, no, I'm the bigger adult.
I can't deal with it. I can't. I feel like a high schooler, and I'm like, I need to get the teacher to help me.
That's funny. That's funny.
No,
Oh my
but it's
gosh.
the truth. It's like I need my supervisor here.
Yeah.
I need someone to actually like be there and tell me that I'm doing good, that I'm making the right decision. But we can't. If the kids that I have, in their eyes, I'm the adult, and in my eyes, I'm like, I'm screwing up. I'm screwing up. I'm screwing up. I'm screwing up.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, we're still new to the field. It's only been like 2 years, 1-2
Right.
years. So, of course, we're still gonna need an adult. So it's rough. It's rough.
And these kids, like, they see us, and I don't know about you guys, but I have kids that are really curious about my life, and some of them are just like, "How old are you? Like, what do you do?" They're innocent questions, and I know they told us, like, in school, like, be careful with what you say and stuff like that. But these are kids, and that's how they communicate.
When you say you work with kids, is it like, because I work with teenagers, but they're kids, like what age group of
Oh,
kids?
okay, so my youngest kid is 8.
Oh, these are like kids.
Kids, yes. But that was in my internship. My internship, I remember, like, the oldest kid I had was 16. Here, my current job, the youngest I have is 8, and the oldest person I have is 51. So I work with everybody, because it's trauma focused, but the majority are clients.
For me personally, like, kids, it's hard working.
No,
with
I
kids
agree.
because I don't know. I'm so used to working with teens and adults and like being able to be like, so how do you feel?
Right. You want to be, you know why you're here. Yeah.
And so the idea of play therapy to me is like, we're not really doing anything therapeutic. I mean, but that's just me and being in my head and just being like, I'm not doing enough for this child,
No,
right?
that makes sense.
So it's hard.
It is.
It's
In my
really hard.
internship, I flat out told my supervisor, kids are not my jam. I know once
Kids
I
are
leave, I
not
don't want
my
to work with
jam
kids.
either.
I work with kids now because I'm like, maybe I'll give it another try, and it's been solidified for round 2. It's not for me. round 2, it's not for me. We can play, and I can implement, therapeutic practices into our play therapy, but I just feel like it's not connecting.
Yeah.
And then again, you're gonna have to bring in the parent. I don't want to do family therapy, so
Yeah.
there's just a disconnect in a lot of different ways.
As a school-based clinician, I'm in elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. I prefer the middle schools and the high schools, mostly high school though.
Right. I like
Elementary.
12 up. Great.
Yeah, elementary though. Oh,
Elementary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Middle school up, kids. middle
She's the
school,
opposite.
High school, they're mean.
I love
Oh,
them.
yeah.
They bring so much drama.
Some of them are so...
I love it. I'm like,
Okay,
what
it-
happened today?
But it
girl?
depends on the
Tea time,
trauma.
yes.
the hottest tea.
But
Yep,
it depends
okay.
on the drama. So, like, yeah, no, I see them of all age ranges
Yeah.
now, so it's fine. But
Yeah.
like those little kids, they're
Yep.
so like innocent, and they
Yep.
just like you just want to like
You
cradle
love babies.
them.
You always talk about your cousins, like they're your little children.
Yeah.
You've always loved kids and
Yeah.
babies.
No.
So that
Can't
makes
relate.
sense.
Can't relate, Samantha. I'm gonna end this with one last question for you guys. How is your mental health today? If it's in a bad place, how does it affect you as a therapist? And what are you guys doing to address it?
I think before I decided to make a switch to a new position, I was really starting to get burnt out. And it was starting to show in ways that I would just get annoyed really quickly. I wouldn't necessarily take it out on my clients. I would just be a little bit less communicative, where I would be, oh, hi, bro, hello, happy and hyper. I would kind of be like, okay, like, let's get to the point. I'll do this for you. That's it.
Yeah.
Because it was just a bit much. And then the amount on my caseload, I had at one point over 70 people that I had to deal with. And it was out in the field. So I was literally driving my car to these people's house. It was just a lot. So I think I had to factor in sometimes you really just need to put yourself first and figure out what it is that you need to keep yourself sustained, because there was no way in this position that I wouldn't be burnt out.
Absolutely.
You have a work phone, they have your number, they can call you at any time and they're expecting you to answer. So it was a lot. So I kind of just needed to reshift my focus and realize that this is a position where I am helping people and I enjoy being able to help people, but it's not leading me into my goal.
Yeah.
So I had to discuss that with my supervisor, keep everybody in the loop and make a decision to put myself and my goals first and be able to switch over to a position that was a little bit more versed in what I needed at the time in order to keep myself afloat. Because I am just starting out. I don't want to burn out and then be like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to being a receptionist. I'm going to go do customer service or something. You know what I mean? I want to keep myself as fresh as I can as I navigate because the field is just so wide. So just being able to navigate where you find your place, essentially. I think I'm doing better now. I made sure I gave myself a break. I do tend to overwork myself. I don't think I'm a workaholic, but I think I start to feel guilty. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just sitting here, but this person said they needed this, so let me hop on that.
Yeah.
And I'll just keep going and checking my work email after hours, and it's just much. It's so much. I'm learning to, once the time is over,
Good for you.
shut it down. Don't touch it. It'll be there
Yeah.
tomorrow. Leave it alone. And so I'm just kind of learning how to adult within this new space.
It'd be like that.
It
It really
does,
be like
it
that.
does,
Like,
it
but
does, it does.
honestly,
My mental health overall is pretty good. Really, burnout's the big one. Burnout's the really big one, especially where I started was very hard. There were it got really hard to not take my work home with me. One, physically, I was doing like insurance notes in a diner after working out because
Oh my
that's how
gosh.
much work we had. Yeah.
oh my
Yikes.
god, really?
Yeah, I would and if I didn't do the insurance note, it would be like another 1 to 2 hours of work the next day. So the number of hats I do insurance stuff, I do documentation, families, groups, it's too much. So it was not fantastic for a bit there. I was like, I had enough energy to give to the kids more or less, but even then I was getting snappier, shorter, had way less patience. Summer came and I had this spiritual growth, and I've also started to see some of the seeds of my own therapy come up, and I got a second wind. I almost quit my job. It was rough. I mean, I think since I've started, maybe 10 people have quit the job that I've quit.
Oh wow,
So
high
the-
turnover.
Yeah, the fact that I'm about to hit a year is a big deal because a lot of people don't always make it a year where I'm at. Right now, I'm doing pretty well, but it was pretty rough for a bit there. The days where it's hard is almost like you're trying to paddle down a stream and there's icebergs and stuff in the water, and you're trying to get around the icebergs while also listening to what's going on. And I do a lot of groups, so it's a lot of managing personalities. And sometimes one of the hardest parts is when you've got had some very strong personalities, a lot of borderline, and managing those personalities while also being stressed out and staying really calm all the time was really tough. And there were days where I was like, I could have done better. Or I wish I had done better. And I had to be like, look, man, it's just how that day was.
I can't do that, so good for you.
It's a lot of hard lessons, a lot of long days, a lot of moments where you go home and you're by yourself and you're like, oh. We need one of those calendar days, Groundhog Day or Ex Appreciation Day,
Yeah.
No, honestly though,
Therapist Appreciation Day.
Jesus, they
That'd
have
be nice.
Nurses Week. They have all this other stuff.
Do we
and it's
not
like,
have a week?
We don't get shit.
Wow.
we don't shit
on. That's the gist of it.
Oh,
That's
salsa.
Oh my lord.
That's funny. I guess that's it for us.
Yeah,
I really
thank you so
we
much
talked
for
about a
having
lot.
us.
And you guys were super insightful. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys opening up about like your experiences and your mental health because this is what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So the fact that you guys were the first to do it, I love
We're
it.
so excited.
And,
It's a pleasure being here.
No, but honestly, thank you.
Yeah,
of course.
seriously.
This
It's
was
a
so
pleasure.
fun.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, comment, all of it. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.